lost that Peter Pan. If I could only find his hideout, I'd trap him in his lair. But where is it?
Can I tell you a secret? Yesterday was the first time I watched Peter Pan ever since it was released, and I found myself fascinated by this character, Captain Hook. So I did a little digging, and I'm going to tell you a story on how Disney transformed Captain Hook from a book to an interesting moving villain. My name is Caleb, and this is the Villain Forge. Before we begin, if you're new here, you're welcome. I'm a self-taught artist and I'm constantly learning how to draw. And what I do is I draw the character I'm talking about and see if I can do justice to it. If that's fine with you, then let's begin. Let's go back in time. In the year 1904, in other words, 1904, a Scottish novelist and playwright by the name of Sir James Matthew Barrie debuted his play at the Duke of York's Theatre in London, December of the same year. Sir Barrie revised the play throughout the following years from its debut until publication of the play script in 1928 under the name Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Would Not Grow Up. Now, the play and novel evolved around a mischievous little boy who can fly and has many adventures in the island called Neverland and its inhabited. The major theme of the play is the conflict between the innocence of childhood and the social responsibility of adulthood. So the play and novel was a success, as it received prizes from the masses. However, we can't take away the criticism in the way it portrayed a certain group of people, in our case the so-called Redskins tribe, as it had racist undertone to it, which is a story for another day. So, in 1935, Mr. Walt Disney began to consider plans to adapt Sir Barrie's play into an animated feature. Because he loved the play growing up, he had a soft spot for it. So he purchased the rights from Paramount Pictures in 1938 and began development the following year. However, following the attack on Pearl Harbor, Disney shelved the project because his studio was contracted by the US government to produce training and war propaganda films. So the project was shelved for 10 years until 1949, when they made a turnaround and assigned Dorothy Ann Blank to develop the story and appointed Jack Kinney as director during the early development of the movie. Now, when it came to Captain Hook, he was originally conceived, or rather say, made by Sir Barrie himself for the play as the quintessential pirate villain. Sir Barrie described him as a ruthless yet strangely charismatic pirate captain who is the perfect foil to Peter Pan's heroism adventures. So when it came to Disney's adaptation, the challenge was to create a Captain Hook that not only stayed true to Barrie's vision, but also fit the whimsical and adventurous tone of Disney's animation style. So they brought in a character designer and animator, the legend himself by the name of Franklin Thomas. He was one of Disney's 9 old men. He was the lead character designer with help from another legend animator by the name of Wolfgang Reitherman, who helped him during the animation process. He was designed to be a more comic villain, which is a shift from the play itself, who had a short or fragile temper with coward-like tendencies and a murderous attitude, and no messy pirate-like attitude. Captain Hook's facial appearance resembles Mr. Franklin Thomas himself, then designed him to be a thin man with long black hair, with a large hooked nose, a thin black handlebar mustache that angles upwards sharply, a large thin chin which is clean shaved, wears a clean white cravat underneath a red coat with gold lining, wears an orange sash over his right shoulder that holds his sword on his hips, with rose pants and white knee-high socks, with black shoes with circle pink decoratings on each one, normal eyes with a large crimson hat with a huge lavender feather stuck in it. And lastly, he has his signature hook on his left hand made of silver or gold depending on the occasion. And here are some concept sketches from the 1900s. Now, such a character with all these characteristics and range needs a voice to fit it. So during the casting of the voice actors, it was reported that an English actor by the name of Cary Grant was supposed to take up the role of Captain Hook, but due to certain reasons unknown, the role was turned and given to an American actor and voice actor comedian by the name of Hans Conried. This talented comedian brought his A game to the set as he managed to give Captain Hook a greedy and polished English accent, and they made him also perform extensive live action reference of the character. According to Catherine Beaumont, who voiced Wendy, record that she enjoyed working with him, admiring his ability to be both comical and marvelously evil at the same time.
Speed, please, don't let him get me, Speed, please, don't let him get me, Speed.
Making him the perfect match to this arrogant character. Now, as with previous Disney animated feature films like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, live action sequences were pre-recorded and filmed with the actors performing the dialogues, as this served as aid for the animators. So, when it came to Captain Hook, the voice actor Hans Conrad completed the voice work in just few days, but served as the live action reference for 2.5 years. Another animator and one of Disney's 9 old men, Mr. Milton Cowell, wanted to animate Captain Hook, but was instead assigned to animate Peter Pan. However, the job was given to Frank Thomas, the character designer. So Mr. Thomas faced conflicting visions of the character on how he animated the movement and mannerism to suit the character in the storyboards. As you know, they used hand-drawn page-by-page animation, which was standard at Disney during that time period. So when Disney saw Thomas's first test scenes, he said, "Well, that last scene has something I like. I think you're beginning to get him. I think we better wait and let Frank cook a little longer." In other words, let him cook. Because Frank couldn't animate every scene of Hook, certain scenes were given to Wolfgang Reitherman, such as when Hook was trying to escape TikTok the crocodile at Skull Rock. And here's a fun fact, this marked the last Disney film in which all 9 members of Disney's 9 old men worked together as directing animators. And I believe they had a great time doing it. And lastly, we established that the director was Jack Kiney. However, I don't know what happened in between, but they brought in 3 directors by the name of Hamilton Lusky, Clyde Geronimi, and Wilfred Jackson as directors. So, these 3 directors aimed to create a villain who was both comical and menacing. Their vision was to present Hook as a foil to Peter Pan's eternal boyhood, embodying adult fear and insecurities in a way that was accessible and entertaining to both children and adults, because they wanted to stay true to the original character from the play. However, plans changed because in other routes they chose, they wanted to kill off Captain Hook by being eaten by the crocodile, which seemed to be too dark for a kids film, and chose other options. Lastly, Captain Hook was designed to be a complex character who, despite his villainy, had moments of vulnerability and humor. This blend of traits made him a more memorable and multidimensional antagonist, inspiring the way villains are made even to this day. Now, I want to say thank you for 1,000 subscribers. It seemed so far-fetched ever since I uploaded my first video in 2020. I can't thank you enough, and I have great videos coming your way. Before I forget, did you know that Peter Pan was the one who cut off Captain Hook's hand and fed it to TikTok the crocodile? Now you know.